Journey of Resilience Memorial, presented by Tavori Jones. My name is Tabari Jones. I'm a second year architecture and construction science major, and I'm currently a student at Prairie View A&M. So we're given the project down in Waller County to build a memorial, which consisted of both public and private sacred space, and needed to include a monument, which were supposed to be taken from my president research. So here's one of my first president researches, which is a sacred space. And this sacred space is a model chapel for the Brazilian Air Force designed by Joe Land Nice. It combines simple, symbolic architecture with space for reflection and spiritual use. So here's just a little image just to show the idea slash concept of how I incorporated my presidents into my building. So here's another image of the president research that I did, which was on the nuclear bomb memorial. It was a peaceful space honoring victims of the 1945 atomic bombings, designed by Gonzalez Blanco to express grief and remembrance through silence and symbolism. So this project was basically given to multiple teams of 4 or 5 that was basically sent out to try to get the best image to or memorial to represent the victims that happened in 1945. Here's another image that's given the concept slash idea of how I incorporated the nuclear bomb memorial into my memorial. Here's another image of my president's research, which was an echo on the mountain. And this was basically a minimalistic pavilion in the Antillean Alps for quiet thought, community gatherings, and enjoying the natural and historic landscape. I basically had the research on this for Elijah Muhammad. We incorporated him in the Echo on Mountain because it just basically felt like it symbolizes him. Here's another image that shows how I incorporated the Echo on Mountain into my memorial form. So the design is simple yet rectilinear. It uses clear, straightforward geometry to maintain order and structure. The form is symbolic as it communicates a split within a single institution, highlighting separate pathways with undefined framework. So I wanted to put in a split basically just to communicate a split how they didn't want us basically at A&M, so they made us move. They basically split us into two and gave us Prairie View A&M. So the lights in the private sacred spaces are basically manual lights that were put in with slight window light. In the public sacred space, the light is mainly direct with glass walls. So the gray concrete around the buildings represent strength and resilience, as well as the framework and steel. The rough gravel pathways show the struggle that our peers were once going through. Even to this day, you never know what people are going through. So here's a little diagram of the exterior climax of showing ways that we tried to prevent the sun from being so overpowering, and also ways where if it were to rain, have a terrible storm, that we designed the roof to have just a slight slant to where the water would never just be sitting on the roof. There were some layouts and floor plans of some previous designs of the ideas that I was going with before I came up with the model. Just a few things that were changed just a tad bit. I extended walls to give more of a private look. I also changed up the 8 different panels, which you'll see later in the presentation. That just gives off a better sense of how I want to go about my concept. So here's an image of my floor plan, which if you look at it, you can see number one is my public sacred space. The two are my private sacred spots, and the threes are the obviously the restrooms. And then you have number four being the office space, number five being the gallery space, and number six being the reflection mirrors that I was just previously talking about. Here's a look at my physical model. So here's a few images of my elevations. We have south elevation, east elevation, and west elevation. We also have a few shots of my section cuts, west and east. Here's a look at the gallery that was put into my memorial just to give off a feel of the history and just to give us a gain on our knowledge about the Prairie View history. You know, you have pictures from present to past, past to present. Here's an image of the waterfalls that you basically only see from the private sacred spot. It's a symbol of history flowing forward. It shows how the past connects to the future. Also, healing and renewal, like the water cleans, it can stand for peace and fresh starts. Strength, a waterfall's power represents the strength of PVs and its own people. The growth, water helps things grow, just like PVAM grew in major aspects of life. So here's an image of a few of the reflection mirrors that just show self-reflection and identity, and also represent the unknown eight. There are a total of eight reflection mirrors. Look at the garden wall that you would only see if you were to come in and go from the private to the sacred spot. It basically represents strength, honor, and growth, and also peace. And this is the conclusion of my presentation of the Journey Resilience Memorial. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.